joining us today. We're here to talk about Jack in the Box growing again. The franchising program was relaunched this year. You ended Q3 with 16 development agreements to build 64 new units. The chain is targeting 4% annual restaurant growth by 2025. You feel like you can get to 6,000 units or more by 2030. Operating in 40 states, now you're in 21. So I wanted to start with you, Darin, just by kind of telling us about this growth strategy and why a relaunch was necessary for the franchising program.
Yeah, relaunching our franchise development program, really following a decade hiatus, has been exciting, and we are eager for to bring in new franchisees and for our existing franchisees to grow within both existing markets and some new ones. We've definitely, as we went through this transition of a new leadership team, our system is very energized, excited about expanding Jack in the Box, and we'll continue to work with both new and existing franchisees to expand. And it all really started with that, as I mentioned, re-energizing our franchisees, developing meaningful relationships, and ensuring that the franchisees are equipped to grow and drive new store openings across the country.
Well, so tell us about how you're going to be doing this. So right now you've got, we had negative unit growth during Q3. I think there was 4 new units opened, 13 closed, but some of those are going to be relocated. Is that right?
Correct. That's correct.
So when do you see the growth starting? And let's talk about some of the new markets that you feel there are opportunities for Jack in the Box.
Yeah, we're looking at growth starting in 2022 fiscal year. And then you mentioned it, that we're on track to ramp to 4% annual restaurant growth by 2025. And my excitement for where this brand is with its economic model, with the current existing potential within our existing markets, really give me confidence that we'll be able to expand. And the way we're thinking about it is just one example. If we get the economic model right, we have the relationship right with franchisees, and we have the right, messaging to our consumers with the right products, we're pretty confident that Jack in the Box can grow again.
Well, so you just passed your year anniversary, right? CEO, you came in right at the height of the pandemic, which had to have been an enormous challenge in itself. And also following a bit of franchisee unrest. There was a lawsuit, it was settled. Tell me about how you've repaired that relationship with the franchise operators.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to take away is that we took the time to rebuild the relationship. And even before I started at Jack in the Box, I reached out to probably 25 of our franchisees and just said, look, we can talk about business in the future. Right now, let's focus on building a relationship. So let me get to know you as a person. Let me get to know your story and how you came into Jack in the Box, and tell me about your family. And it starts with the relationship. And that's where we spent the majority of our time early on, is listening, engaging, and just getting to know each other. So when there are going to be disagreements in any franchise relationship, and we've prepared for that by building the relationship to say, okay, it's not personal. This is about a difference of opinion. And how do we figure out ways to solve it together? And so I've shared with the street multiple times, Jack in the Box often looked at our franchise relationship because as a 4-man relay race, where at the end of the race, they would hand the baton and say, go finish the race, run as fast as you can. And my style and the leadership style and the culture we're creating here is we want to bring franchisees in at the beginning of the race, and we want to take them through the race together. And think of it as a 3-legged sack race where we both have a leg in, we're hopping along. We're going to fall a few times. We're going to, disagree at times, but we'll get back up and we'll finish the race strong. So that's the way we've approached it throughout day one of my leadership tenure.
Well, and during the third quarter, though, the Jack in the Box took over operation of 16 units in Oregon. Those are units that you plan to refranchise, right?
Yeah, those units we took over corporately. We're going to operate them for a while. We're going to go in and update and re-image and start to look at, is there a potential for us to build around them with the ultimate goal to refranchise those locations.
Okay, well, so profitability is up for franchisees. You had same-store sales were up 10.3% in Q3. That was better than the company-owned units. 2-year comps were up 16.8%. And you see basically you've seen a lot of opportunity with digital. Digital sales are up 30% so far this year, but you see more opportunity there. Tell me more about that opportunity and how you're approaching that.
Yeah, it started with listening to our guests and doing a lot of deep dive into, what do guests want from Jack in the Box and segmentation work. And we learned a lot about the brand throughout that process and how we can communicate differently and more effectively. And so then we took that and we started to invest into digital. And our consumers are now using our mobile app more than ever, with our customer database growing more than 60%. In the past year, we recently launched our loyalty program, the Jack Pack. And just recently over the weekend, we had our largest loyalty push to date, when, with new and existing users automatically receiving 40 loyalty points with an offer code. So at the 40-point mark, they actually get rewarded and they can redeem any of these offers through the app. And so loyalty was a way to do it, building our database, building our digital capability. All those are things that we've been focused on, so we can give more opportunities to our guests to order the products that they love.
And now you have also this year this new prototype. So it's the MK12, I think. Do you have a better name, or is it still called the MK12?
That's kind of a historical thing. We call it the MK12. That's just kind of a traditional Jack name for their prototype models. And it was really focused around how do we create modularity and think differently about entering markets. So instead of just one prototype that's a freestanding location, this one is modular, and it's designed to focus on off-premise. So the combination of those two things, we can add a dining room if we want. We can, it can scale up or scale down, but the size is 1,300 square feet. It's designed with a drive-through lane or for pickup and third-party delivery. And our drive-through sales skyrocketing during the pandemic, and if restrictions lift now with this challenge, the new prototype aligns with the evolution of our customer preferences. So we have 3 of them opening in 2022 in Oklahoma and California. And we think that overall the cost reduction and the improvement to the economic model is about 20% improvement to the cost to build.
And so 1,300 square feet compares with what is a typical traditional Jack in the Box?
Yeah, it can range from 16 to 1,800 all the way up to 3,500 square feet.
And so, I mean, how much do you anticipate this being a no dine-in format? Do you think that will be the most popular option here? Is that what people are going for?
Well, I think with so much of our sales now going through the drive-through, I think we're going to continue to evolve and understand. And more for me, where I'm focused is how do we find the right site and understand what is the right prototype to put into the trade area that we're going into. And not all of them will be drive-through only, but definitely that'll be a big focus, is off-premise and making the customer experience frictionless and easy to use our brand. And we think the bigger upside is continuing to find ways to make the off-premise occasion even more seamless.
Well, I mean, we're talking 2 drive-throughs here, right? So there's
2 drive-throughs, yes. And there's definitely 2 drive-throughs, and it can go all the way up to 4. Depending on the site, depending on what are we anticipating for the volume in the restaurant.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because we're hearing that more and more, that two isn't enough anymore. we need 4, we need 6. I can't imagine finding the real estate that would make that possible out there. It must be very competitive.
Well, with so much going off premise, you actually, you don't need as much parking. So, you can enable the 4-lane drive-throughs.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So this format though really must work well with what Jack in the Box has been doing over the past few years, really is trying to own the night, as I think you said in the earnings call last week. So you've got late night, and this is something that works really well for Jack in the Box, and it seems like a drive-through format would be perfect for late night and delivery for late night, as opposed to having a dining room open during the late night hours. Is that? Yeah,
many people know that Jack in the Box has always been a late night brand, and it's been a part of our core for a long time. So, we are excited about just finding the ways to reach our consumers in the way they want to use the brand, listening to them through our segmentation work and understanding what products they want, how they want to consume it, Do they want it late night, early morning? And that's the best part of the brand is it's, we have such a variety on our menu, and you can get it all day, every day. And our guests, that's something they appreciate about the brand. So we'll continue to find ways to grow our late night business.
Is there anything about the menu that you want to mention now that you haven't mentioned on earnings that might be coming?
Yeah, we're excited about, we just finished the launch of our spicy tiny tacos, a brand extension of the well-performing tiny tacos. And then we're also rolling out a larger, bigger, crunchier cluck sandwich. So our new chicken sandwich, and that actually rolls out on Thursday, a barbecue cluck.
Barbecue cluck, larger, bigger, and crunchier? Crunchier how?
Correct. Upgraded pickles, a new sauce, onion rings on the sandwich. It's definitely taking a bigger footprint in the marketplace.
That's fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about staffing, because that really seems to be, labor is the big issue this year, and especially if you're talking about having units open late at night. Tell me a little bit about how Jack in the Box is dealing with this labor challenge that the industry across the board is facing.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing that most of our competition is doing, and really starting by focusing on taking care of our current employees and making sure they're well compensated, that we have enough staff, that they're trained well, and that they see growth opportunities. And if we do that, we want to hold on to our existing staff, and we've seen the ability to keep our current staff. But I will say, just like everyone in the industry, is that we're also trying to figure out how do we attract new people to the industry and train them into future job opportunities, or just attract employees. So what I think it boils down to is we have to have our culture right. And so we're spending a lot of time around making the culture at the restaurant level, but at our support center, one that is focused on how do we take care of our guests.
Well, and have you looked at wages at all and compensation? Any changes there in terms of benefits, things like that, or are you leaving that to your franchise?
Yeah, we've definitely taken the move across the board with increasing wages, and that's only one component of it. We know there's an ongoing debate in the market about minimum wage, but we'll leave that to the lawmakers to decide what the right thing is, and our focus is on how do we take care of our employees at the restaurant level.
So let's talk about some of the markets that you're in, because the growth plan that you have is moving into new markets. So you're primarily in the West, Southwest, right? Jack in the Box right now in the 21 states?
That's correct. Yeah, we're at a point where we need to continue to fortress and build out our existing markets fully. And then we'll wagon wheel and go into some new markets and some surrounding markets where people are aware of the brand. So as part of these new development agreements, Jack in the Box will be entering Salt Lake City, Chicago, Louisville, all of those for the first time. And then we'll also be expanding, as I mentioned, in existing footprints in Houston, Phoenix, San Francisco, LA, and Dallas.
And in going into the new markets, how are you doing that? Are you starting with brick and mortar, or are you looking at all at ghost kitchens or any sort of virtual representation?
So we've signed an agreement with Reef Kitchens for 8 locations, and we're testing those 8 locations in multiple markets. Some that are heavily penetrated markets like Houston, or emerging markets for us like Nashville, and then also a brand new market like Chicago. So we want to test it in multiple different formats, but we're also going into these markets with different prototypes. So like I mentioned, the MK12, our smaller prototype, all the way up to a flagship type restaurant and some end cap locations.
Well, that's interesting. So you might go into some new markets as a no dine in brand.
Correct.
People first know you only as a drive-through brand. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. What else do you have coming on that would basically raise brand awareness? Because that's always the challenge. I mean, everyone knows Jack in the Box. I'm in California. Everyone knows you here.
Right.
Going into the new markets, how do you plan to raise that brand awareness to let people know what Jack in the Box is?
Yeah, we're partnering with our franchisees to market those new locations differently. And then with, Ryan, our new CMO, we're really enhancing our digital capability. I mentioned some of the things we're doing, but we'll really focus on building that relationship with the guests in new markets through digital, and then also awareness and brand building. The other thing is part of our strategy at Salt Lake City. When we go to Salt Lake City, versus us just going in there and building a few units and starting to recruit franchisees, we're starting with already aligned with 3 franchisees who have signed development agreements, and then corporate we're also going to build alongside of them and get to the point where we're building 3 to 5 locations a year to fully maximize the brand awareness in the market.
What is the percentage of company owned to franchise right now? It's vastly more franchise operated, but
yeah, it's 93% franchised.
Right. Okay. So what would be the proper ratio, do you think, going forward then?
The way we think about it is we want to look at it to the point of we want to remain primarily franchised, but we will invest in our business and invest in growth corporately, so we show that we have skin in the game, and we think it's a good testing ground. But we anticipate remaining around 90% plus on our go forward model.